Hi guys, welcome back to Chats with Dr. Keke. I know it's been a while and there's some videos that I am owing you guys. And so yeah, here we are. And just a reminder to everyone that I'm a pediatrician and a pulmonologist and now a mom of two. So this is an update video. At the time we were sharing the news of our pregnancy and I said that there was a lot more content coming. So, what I wanted to share with you today was how I experienced that second pregnancy as a 40-year-old mom, second time around. It really was not easy, which is why it's taken so long for me to finally get back to sharing some info and content. But here we are. So our little one, we had a boy, and he is 6 months old on Saturday. So yeah, it was not an easy journey, and as we already shared, we'd had two losses already by the time we conceived him. So just starting from there to say that pregnancy in your advanced ages might not happen as easily as in like your 20s or early 30s. So we tried for about a year and a half essentially. So in our case, it doesn't really count as secondary infertility because we were actually conceiving, but I was having miscarriages. And so after the second miscarriage, is then when it now was taking a while. Well, we did take a bit of a break in terms of baby making or just the whole idea of having another baby. Emotionally, it really does take its toll. So we took a bit of a break. But then when we decided to start trying again, things just didn't feel right in terms of physically for me. So one of the things was that I had gained some weight from those pregnancies, even though they were all first trimester losses. And I was actually struggling to shake it off, even though I was back at the gym. I was eating quite clean, but I found that I just couldn't get the excess weight off. So I felt like my body wasn't responding to the things that I do as it normally does. And also now my cycle, for the first time, had become irregular. So there were just some things that I just couldn't explain. And in all that, now we were trying to conceive, you know. So I shared this with my gynae, Dr. Tebekulu Park Lane. I love her, guys. Like, she is wonderful. If you want a gynae who is going to be honest with you, who's not going to pressure you into anything, but will be frank with you, who is patient, explains things to you, but is also like excellent, as in I trust that lady with my life. That is where I would recommend that you go. So that is a serious shout out to her. And there are many other excellent Black gynecologists in South Africa that I could recommend if you ever need. So I shared all this with her, and you know it really wasn't making sense. And so she said, well, maybe it could be a mild version of PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Also because every time she did the ultrasound to look at my ovaries, there were some cysts, not a lot. Initially, we just thought that they were just the normal follicles in different stages of development. But now seeing her, I think it was now the third time, she was like, actually, these pictures are looking a bit identical, meaning that maybe these follicles are not developing in stages and that they're just cysts. But now you talking about the fact that you're not able to lose weight and now your cycle is irregular, it could be. So, I mean, there are also other symptoms that people who actually do have PCOS experience, which I wasn't experiencing. But considering that I was trying to fall pregnant and getting a little bit impatient, we thought to rather not wait and actually just treat it. So she advised, and I was taking some medication that you get, which helps with like your metabolism, metabolic rate. Because also another symptom of or sign of PCOS is essentially like an element of insulin resistance. So it just means like almost like an early onset of mild diabetes. So your body's not really responding to your insulin. And also hence maybe why not being able to lose weight. So we did that, and then she also put me on ovulation stimulation medication. We were already tracking my cycle, just because you do eventually have to do that when you are trying to conceive, and it's not just happening naturally. You don't want to miss those windows of when you should actually be engaging. So they'll explain to you that like, okay, you drink this medication on this day, and then you count like this, and then in this period you definitely should be engaging. If you didn't have plans, to make plans. And so we did all of that, and it didn't work. So that was a little bit disappointing. Oh, well, we thought it didn't work because I didn't fall pregnant. And then we paused again because emotionally, again, it was taking its toll, and we just were not having fun, And I think that's probably the most important thing, is that you should be just having fun in your life and in your marriage and in your family. Once you lose that joy, I think something which is supposed to be as natural as falling pregnant also just goes out the window. So it's that fine balance of, there's this thing we're trying to achieve. We really want the second baby. We're a bit anxious about it, and just living life normally, But you really have to sort of make a decision to do that and make plans and have fun and enjoy the child or children that you do have, if you have. And if you don't have, maybe also just exercising gratitude for the things that you do have, because even if we are in search of something, we are all blessed with so many other things, and often it's actually when we focus on the gifts that we open ourselves up to others. So I'm not going to preach, but that's basically where we were when we actually then did eventually conceive for the second time. Well, successfully, right? So I found out I was pregnant on Women's Day that year. So how it happened was actually I was having like some breast discomfort, and I had a mammogram done the previous year. And although the mammogram was normal, the doctor had said, you probably should come back next year just for us to make sure. So when I was feeling this discomfort in my breast, I was like, maybe it's time. And breast cancer is real. It happens. So I was like, no, maybe I should go get checked. And then something said to me, oh yeah, but there's another thing that causes breast discomfort that maybe you also might want to check. So I did a home pregnancy test, and it was positive. And I was very shocked because my mind was like almost moving away from that. Shocked, excited, and then immediately also very nervous and stressed, because I had 2 miscarriages prior to that. So it took me a few days to just kind of accept the news to myself and know that I wasn't like making it up in my mind. And then I shared the news with my husband, and we were about to go away actually overseas for about 2 weeks. So we did that, we went away, and it was such a wonderful holiday, but there was this underlying anxiety that I was having, and there were now certain things that I couldn't do, because now I'm like, we have to be careful. I can't do this, I can't drink. So it did kind of kill the vibe a little bit. But that went well. We came back, and about a week after coming back, so now I should have been probably in week 6 of my pregnancy. I was at work the one morning, and I felt a slight discomfort and went to go check in the loo, and I was spotting. And I had seen this movie before. So my heart really just like sank, and I was like feeling hot and cold all at the same time. It's just a feeling that I don't wish on anyone. And even though you're trying to be optimistic, your mind just literally goes to like the very, very dark places. And so I got through the rest of the morning, didn't tell anyone, and then tried to book an appointment with my gynae just to check, even though I knew and I know professionally that if you are having a miscarriage that early, there's really not much that can be done. It's going to happen. So try to see my gynae, but she was fully booked that day, so I got an appointment for the following day. And one of the worst nights of my life, I have to say. Completely stressed, already like mourning something that I felt was probably happening in my mind. I was like, yeah, no, I guess this is another loss. And I had already decided and had told my husband that this is the last time. Like, if this baby does not come, I can't go through this again. I just emotionally did not feel like I'm strong enough to keep on trying. But yeah, when I did finally see her, everything was fine. The spotting or bleeding had actually slowed down. And when we checked, there was still a heartbeat. So she put me on bed rest and, had a stern conversation with me about the fact that I need to just try and relax. I can't be having a meltdown every time it looks as though something might be going wrong. And she was quite worried maybe that I was maybe going into a depression. And, she said to me, like, it's so early, sis, like, if you're going to be like this now, you are still far away from being done with this first trimester. So I heard her, but it really wasn't easy. So she put me on some progesterone, which some gynaes make moms or pregnant ladies drink it, and some put it PV, so that's per vaginally, which is what I had to do. So did that, and I was off work for about a week. And then I went back. So the bleeding stopped, and then everything continued as normal. So yeah, so it was not easy, sort of like celebrating internally each week as it goes. You're like, okay, 8 weeks done, and you do your searches, you read like the chances of miscarriage at 8 weeks, chances of miscarriage at 9 weeks, and they keep going down. But it's like, and everybody tells you if you've heard or seen a heartbeat, then your chances of miscarriage are like low. But if you've experienced it, then there's very little that gives you comfort really until you hold that baby in your arms. So I had then obviously now the worst symptoms. And I have described my first pregnancy. Trimester 1 for me is usually the worst. Okay, so my nausea is insane, but it actually does not result in vomiting, which I almost wish it did, because I would think that might bring some type of relief. And they call it morning sickness, but in my case, it's like all day sickness. So nausea and extreme fatigue, like all I want to do is sleep. I even am afraid of driving in that time, but unfortunately you have to get to work, etc. But all I do when I get home is lay flat, like horizontal, on a bed, on a couch. That's essentially my first trimester. And the only thing that makes my nausea better is eating fatty foods. So yeah, it's a month of bacon, eggs, cheese, bread, and chips, things like that, and hectic weight gain. So then now come the conversations about testing this fetus. You're a 40 years old pregnant lady. You told about all the risks. You know what they are. Genetic abnormalities. The talk about trisomy 21 comes up again. And so far, the ultrasounds look normal, but the gynae, as she should, was careful to remind us that normal ultrasounds don't mean that there is nothing wrong. We do need to check if you guys want to know. So what I had recalled from my previous pregnancy was that when we had done just the risk stratification based on my age and the certain hormones that they measure, because my first baby I was pregnant at 35, so even then I was high risk for these chromosomal abnormalities. we had been told then that, I cannot remember, I think our risk for a baby with trisomy 21 was 1 in 250. And that had caused me so much anxiety. I had been extremely stressed. And, you know, not having had a child before, I didn't know if I was capable of bonding, having like a happy pregnancy and bonding with this baby, if I already knew maybe that they were going to have a genetic abnormality. And from chats that I'd had with my husband, we knew that termination was not an option for us. So this time around, we just said to the gynae, listen, we know that the risk is going to be even higher. If it was 1 in 250 the previous time, then most likely this time it will be higher. And that is, again, not going to serve us, because still this time around, termination is still not an option for us. So our conversation was that we will get the baby that we get. And if God has chosen us to be parents of any kind of baby, that will be our baby, and we will love them. So we opted to do none of the blood tests. We didn't do the NIPT test. I did not get the risk stratification done. We were solely going to rely on the ultrasounds. And the reason that I wanted the ultrasounds done was just to basically know that, are we going to have a child who's going to need medical intervention, you know, and just sort of to be mentally prepared for that. Because there are children with Down syndrome who have normal hearts, normal organs, who don't ever need any surgery or anything like that. So, and then there are those who are needing cardiac operations or kidney procedures. And I just wanted us to be mentally prepared for whichever way it might go, but not because we were going to do anything about this baby before they were born. So we had all the ultrasounds. And then we did go for a fetal anomaly scan, because for me it was important to know if there were going to be any cardiac defects. So we had those done, and the fetal anomaly scan was normal, except for like some abnormal shadow that the doctor saw on the heart. But that did not mean the heart was not going to be normal, but apparently it was a marker of the possibility of Down syndrome. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And she sat us down. This is the fetal anomaly specialist, and did a whole PowerPoint for us to explain what the different visuals mean and what the risks are and what it will possibly mean if you do have a baby with trisomy 21, you know. And I appreciated that, because how I prefer to engage with healthcare professionals is not to start the conversation by, yes, I'm a pediatrician, I know this. You know, I want you to talk to me like anybody else, like any other mom. So she explained that, you know, that if you have a child with trisomy 21, they will probably forever need you to hold their hand when they cross the road, etc., etc. And we said, yes, we do understand. Yes, we would not terminate if that is the case. We just want to know that the organs will be normal, so that it's more likely that post-delivery we will be going home with our baby, versus having a baby like that's in the ICU needing support on machines. So essentially that was our journey. And so we had the entire pregnancy not knowing if this baby was going to be genetically normal. But we were praying, well, yeah, I was praying. I was asking God for a normal, healthy baby, but I also try not to tell God what to do. So it was a matter of, you know, Lord, if whatever your will is for whichever kind of baby we'll have, if you will just equip us with the strength, you know, to raise and love this baby, and the means to provide whatever support he or she will need. We did want to know the gender, just because we have a daughter and I really wanted a son for my husband, but not that he would have minded if it was a girl. So we knew it was going to be a boy, and then we knew that it was going to be a boy with at least what looked like a structurally normal heart. But it's really only the day that he was born, and probably 6 hours after he was born, that I was then fully convinced that I think this is a normal baby. Because sometimes babies who have Down syndrome, they're beautiful also. They actually always are beautiful. They have what's described as like flat nasal bridge, almond-shaped eyes, and I a little bit have those features. So any baby of mine might actually have some subtle features of Down syndrome. So it took me like a couple of hours just eyeing this little baby to be like, nah, I think this is a normal baby. But it really didn't matter because he was so beautiful anyway, that we were just going to love on him. So that was our journey with the concern about genetic abnormalities. We didn't want to know. We didn't want to know because we were not going to terminate. But the anxiety then does not go away either. So us not wanting to know does not mean that I was not anxious about the possibility, because I think everybody prays for a normal, healthy baby. So you now know that I'm 40, I'm pregnant, the chances are high, they're quite high that this baby could have a genetic abnormality. And even if you prepare your mind, you think you are preparing your mind for it, for any eventuality, the desire in your heart is still for a healthy, normal baby. And so the fear remains with you until you actually see your baby. And so I was asked recently, like, how did we manage that fear? And I think it's a combination of factors. But the one I think that helped me was just talking to my husband about it. Every time that fear like reared its head, where the anxiety was now outweighing all the pros, I would just speak to him about it and be like, hey, as much as I know we don't tell God what to do, but I'd really prefer to have a normal baby. And he would just listen because he is fortunately a much calmer person than me, way more optimistic, hardly lets his mind wander off, on a tangent. And he would just listen, and comfort me and keep reminding me that whatever baby we get, that is going to be our baby, And so if it's our baby, that baby is going to be loved, and we will raise this baby to the best of our ability. And so that really helped me. Praying about it also helped me, and just reminding myself that, no matter what we think we know, as parents, as people, as professionals, and even as a doctor, really the creator and the one who has designed everything is the one who knows best. And so I had to keep reminding myself to not lean on my own understanding, but to really relinquish this journey to God. Because I even believe that the fact of our conceiving this baby had nothing to do with us in the end. In the end, I can't actually tell you when we conceived or how we conceived, because everything we had actively tried up to that point had actually not worked. So someone may say it hadn't worked because we had ultimately stopped everything, or someone could say it had all culminated to a conception. I'm really not sure, but all I know is it was somewhere between June and July 2023. That is all I know. But in terms of tracking and making sense out of it, I can just say that it was all God. So when it came now to what kind of baby we're going to have, to keep calm and actually enjoy the pregnancy and bond with this baby, because I also knew that this is the last time I was going to do this. I then needed to actually hand over control to someone who knows way more than me. So that's what I did, and that's sort of what helped. But the anxiety, does not 100% go away. You will always wonder, and then only on that day will you know. So that was our journey with genetic issues. And then the actual pregnancy itself, second trimester and third, if I am completely honest, I will say that I struggled. So I struggled with this pregnancy. I really, really did. And it was a bit disappointing for me to acknowledge that fact because I had wanted this pregnancy so much. So I had plans of just being the most grateful and happiest preggy girly around. But I was tired. Oh, I was tired. I was miserable. I was achy, And now reading around it and just looking back, it completely makes sense. This was an advanced age pregnancy, and they are known to be that way. So the fatigue, guys, I have never been so tired in my life. Like waking up, showering, putting on clothes, like if I managed to do that, I essentially was done for the day. But unfortunately, that was still just the beginning of the day. I'd still had to get to work and see patients and smile at people. And it was hard, okay? When I got home, I know I had a daughter, I have a daughter, but literally I would just kiss her hello, head to my room and throw myself on my bed. It was that hard. Walking was difficult. I had cramps like in places that I didn't know had muscles, and I knew that fine, you do get muscle cramps in pregnancy, but like bum cramps, like my bum was cramping. I'd get calf cramps in the middle of the night. It really was like something, I really actually was having an out-of-body experience. And so what I took for the muscle cramps was slow mag. It actually helped a little bit. And I started going for mommy to be massages at the Thai place. Those also actually helped quite a bit. Taking a warm bath also helped a little bit. But like nothing really, really worked, because it's not like I did those things and then I was fine. So my muscle cramps were really something, and also the joint pains. So as your body adjusts to carrying the baby and hormones being released, ligaments get soft. So walking became quite a thing. Like the fact that women wobble when they walk is not just because the tummy is heavy and your center of gravity has shifted. There's actually discomfort in your hips. Walking really felt like I was dislocating my hips. That's how bad it was. And this then also affects sleeping. So yes, I had the spaghetti pillow, which was under my tummy, but then I also needed continental pillows again, So my experience of it is just, all I remember is discomfort. But all everybody saw was like a glowing person, because for some reason, my skin always glows when I'm pregnant. The hair gets thicker. So I didn't look like my problems, which I'm sort of grateful for. The other thing that I experienced, so people say, I don't like lose the shape of my nose. I don't go dark on my neck or anything. But once I was getting dressed, and one of my sisters was home with us, and she was like, yo, Kike, your back and your bum. So the whole back of my body had just gone like dark, like I think 6 shades darker. Like I look like someone else from the back. So that actually is where my hyperpigmentation actually occurred. Fortunate, I guess, it was areas that can't be seen. Again, I didn't actually develop any stretch marks. Please don't hate. It's just a genetic thing, I believe. I didn't do anything special, but I didn't get any stretch marks. And then something else that I did note, so I have, I don't know if this is Sesotho or it's just like South African talk. We call them tsompas. I have them on my face and on my neck. And some of us ladies have them on our bra areas. Medically, they're called melanocytic moles. Yeah. So those actually increased in number. So I had more around my bra area, along my back and along the sides of my abdomen, and they were quite itchy. So I had multiple more of these black moles popping up. And actually, since having the baby, I think they've decreased again in number and size. So it was that. And then also, this pregnancy was a summer pregnancy, unlike my previous pregnancy, which was a winter pregnancy. So the hot flashes during a heat wave were hectic. I have never been so hot before. I literally used to strip down to my underwear and just lie on the couch. Like, it was the coolest place for me to be. Outside was hot, in the shade was hot, but our lounge, for some particular reason, is the coolest part of our house. So I struggled a lot through those heat waves, and so much so that I was actually quite worried. And I think the gynaes were actually telling pregnant women to be careful and to hydrate, because overheating is also not good for a developing fetus. So that was it for me. What I wished I could have done in this pregnancy, I wish I didn't have to work, I don't know if I will share content about being pregnant and working, being employed, but I really think, I don't know. I just feel like pregnant women shouldn't have to work. Shouldn't have to work and shouldn't have to be penalized for it, as in not work and still be paid. Or just be paid for being pregnant, like something, you're growing a whole human. So going to work for me really was a struggle. And I pushed on to like the late 30s of my pregnancy, the late 30 weeks, because I was only going to get 4 months of maternity leave. And I would have preferred to rather spend that 4 months with the baby than just sitting at home waiting for a baby to come. So anybody who experienced me towards the end of my third trimester really knows that I was ready, I was tired, and I was not happy to be at work. But I was going just because I felt I had to. Yeah. So that was my experience. I have a video that I've recorded on just other things to expect or that one might experience with the pregnancy in their 40s. So if you're looking for like more medical tips and other things that can happen that I didn't experience, you can hop across to have a look and listen at that one. But I hope this has answered a lot of the questions that people have been asking me, and I hope it's been helpful. And I'll see you in the next video. If you haven't, please subscribe, just so I know that this is helpful to people. And please also comment. The feedback is really helpful. Cheers.